So today I want to share my long-term impressions of the DJI Air 3 from the perspective of somebody who's been flying it for the past 2 months, 1 month before the release, and then 1 month after the release has already passed by. Time goes by very quickly, and ultimately I want to pack all of my impressions into one video to help you decide whether the Air 3 is a good buy for you or not. Of course, the first thing I want to talk about is the camera, and I don't get tired of repeating that, but the 70mm medium telephoto lens that we are seeing on the Air 3, which is exactly the same as the one that we have on the Mavic 3 Pro, is the biggest breath of fresh air that we have seen from DJI lately. I am so in love with that focal length, with that specific look that we are now able to achieve with our drones, especially as opposed to the usual wide-angle lens that we are so used to, that is becoming boring. And now with that compression, with that element of surprise, not giving the viewer what they're expecting, I am having a blast. And that started with the Mavic 3 Pro, and I'm so happy to see it trickling down to the Air 3. So I find myself always looking for ways to use that 70mm lens in addition to the 24mm wide-angle lens, so they can complement each other, so they can tell a better story, they can capture more interesting footage with more compression, more dynamic, and just make your shot come to life even more. And for everyone saying that the lens is a gimmick and it's nothing useful and nothing that you can take advantage of, you guys don't know what you're talking about, because obviously all cameras require different lenses, and different lenses give you different look, different perspective. So it is just another tool to capture more interesting shots, to tell a better story and show your vision as well. So if you don't know what to do with it, it's on you. It's not about being a bad or a gimmick lens. Now, one thing I want to talk about when it comes to the camera is the lack of 5K. And as we all know, the Air 2S had a 1-inch sensor. It had 5.3 or 5.4K. I'm not even sure about the exact dimensions, but it had 5K. Whereas on the Air 3, we don't have 5K. We only have 4K 60 frames per second. That's the maximum resolution. For the most part, it's not a big deal for me. However, I find myself sometimes I lack the ability to punch in that much, and I use this feature a lot when I have a larger resolution. I kind of play with the perspective of the shot, with the zoom in, zoom out, of that little movement that you can introduce to your shot to make it a little bit more dynamic, more interesting. And sometimes when you're shooting a long shot and you don't have too much movement in it, that can really help you when you're punching in a little bit or punching out, and to create that dynamic. And with the fact that we don't have 5K on this drone, that is a little bit harder to achieve, because you just don't have that much resolution to play with. However, I still use that. It's not a deal breaker, but I just wish we had 5K on this drone, or even more than that. So that's kind of one thing that I regret not having here on this drone. As I've been flying the drone on a daily basis, there are a couple of small things that are really small but also make a big impression long term. One of them is the fact that the drone is 720 grams, which is heavier than the Air 2S, but it's also lighter than the Mavic 3 Pro, which has been my daily flyer, if you can say that. So having a lightweight drone in my bag has been great. It's also a lot more portable than the Mavic 3 Pro. So just a small thing, being able to fill a couple of more things into my backpack because of the smaller footprint of the drone feels great to me. Now, because the drone is heavier than the Air 2S, it's also more wind resistant, which is amazing as well, because the weather has been crazy this summer, and although it's super hot around, we also had a lot of days with a lot of strong winds. So I was able to fly the Air 3 in those super strong winds without any issues. Yes, the drone was like twitching left and right, but you weren't able to see that in the video because of the gimbal. It's that good, and I'm happy to see that the drone is that much more wind resistant than smaller drones that would have been impossible to fly in these conditions. So the Air 3 is a beast when it comes to battling the winds and being able to still record. As long as you're not super risky with it, you will be fine in almost any weather that's not hurricane weather. And with the long flight time, especially with the Fly More combo where you have 3 batteries in total. I have been super happy with the amount of footage that I can capture with the flight time that I've been getting on this drone. It's up to 46 minutes on paper. It's realistically about 40 minutes, 35 to 40 depending on how much sport mode you're using, how much wind there is around. But realistically, the flight time has been fantastic for me, and I haven't had any issues with draining the battery very quickly or just losing too much time. With the time, when you know what you want to capture, when you are aware about your surroundings and you kind of have a little mind map of the things you want to shoot, you are also very effective. So with this great flight time, I'm able to capture a lot of things, and especially if I go and travel somewhere, with the 3 batteries that I have, I can capture all the shots I want without really needing much more than that. And of course, if I have to, I can always recharge some of these batteries and even get more time in the air. But I found myself really comfortable with the battery time, with the battery life that I'm getting on the Air 3. So it is very, very nice to have these longer flight times and not having to worry about missing a shot or two. Now, the next thing I'm super happy about when it comes to the Air 3 is the fact that I don't feel limited with this drone. I don't feel like it lacks a certain feature or it lacks, you know, certain settings. DJI put out an update that gave us the option to decide how much sharpness or noise reduction we want applied to our footage. So that really helps tremendously to make the footage look the way we want it to look. And especially with the D-Log-M color profile and the HLG color profile, I feel like we are having a lot of control over the grading aspect of our footage. I kind of miss D-Log on both of these lenses, but at the same time I also don't, because D-Log is a lot harder to grade than D-Log-M. D-Log-M is just a piece of cake to grade. And now is a good time to mention my LUTs that I've specifically designed for the Air 3, which you can access by checking the description below. They're really good for pretty much putting a LUT straight away and getting that instant great look on your footage, and then you can simply adjust a couple of parameters and you'll be golden. But even without adjusting anything, you will still be able to achieve a great look with just a click of a button by adding these LUTs to your D-Log-M footage on the Air 3. So for that reason, I am kind of not missing D-Log, because D-Log is you know, just requires a little bit more tweaking to make it perfect. But here with D-Log-M, it's actually a lot easier to get that crispy look straight away with just a press of a button. So for that, I am quite happy with. I tend to not use normal color profile, although I know it's fantastic as well, but that's just who I am. I always prefer to have the maximum dynamic range in my footage and preserve the maximum amount of detail so I can use my LUTs afterwards and make that footage pop the way I want it to pop. The next thing which I really like about the Air 3, and although I don't use this feature too much, I'm really happy to have it because it's better to have it than not have it, is vertical video. And sometimes I'm shooting specifically in vertical video mode so I can use that footage for a reel or a short here on YouTube. And it's great, although it's not something that I see myself using all the time, because most of the time I'm capturing footage that I want to have for here, for YouTube, and I don't think about reels or, you know, shorts that much. But for some specific ideas that I have, it's nice to know that I will be gaining a little bit of resolution when I switch to vertical orientation, and I can use that to my advantage to properly frame my shot and then use that for a reel or a short. In the 2 months of using this drone, I haven't had any issues with the signal, which is, I guess, my first ever time of flying that many kilometers with this drone. I've covered such a long distance with the drone, and hundreds of kilometers have been flown with the Air 3, and I haven't had any issues with the connectivity, which only speaks for itself. When it comes to connectivity and the power, the strength of the signal is just insane what DJI is doing with the signal strength nowadays, because even their previous models, of course the Mavic 3 Pro, the Mavic 3, the Mavic 3 Classic, all of these newer models, they had amazing reception and they've always been great, but this is just a step beyond everything else, because even in dense urban areas where we have a lot of interference, I've never had any issues, I've never had any problems with losing signal, with having a black screen, with having the drone automatically return to the home point because of losing its signal. I haven't had any issues, which is insane, because I've always had at least some issues in these areas, in these situations, but now nothing. It's just rock solid, and it only shows that the signal has been tremendously improved, and I'm very happy about that. I don't know, I really don't know where DJI can go from here, because how can they make it even better than this? I don't see a way to do it, honestly. And speaking about OcuSync 4 and the signal strength, the remote controller has been fantastic to use. It's super similar to the original DJI RC controller. Now the RC2 has these built-in antennas that you need to unfold to use properly. It's not something that bothers me at all. It's a small price to pay to have that increased range and increased strength of the signal. So I'm super happy with the remote. I don't see any faults about it. Nothing really can be said negatively about the remote from my experience, at least. Maybe one thing that I can say is that I tend to scratch the displays of my remotes a lot, because I just toss the remote in my backpack every now and then, especially going from one place to another. It's very easy to scratch the display, so I would advise you, if you're going to do the same as me, maybe get a screen protector from Amazon. I think they have a lot of different ones available. Maybe get one of those so you can, you know, kind of protect the screen a little bit better than me, because now I have a few scratches that I'm very unhappy with, and I'm trying to fix that. But yeah, that's the only thing I can say about the display or the remote being bad, and it's on me, actually. And finally, a feature that at first I thought was a little bit of a gimmick, and now I tend to use a lot, is the fact that you can transfer the remaining power of one of your weaker batteries to the ones that really need that juice the most. Maybe if you have a battery that is 30% and you have a battery that is 80%, you can use the function button of the charging brick, and that will transfer the safe percentages of the 30% battery to the ones that need it the most. Like the 80% battery will be topped up to almost to 100%, and that happens relatively quickly, so it's great to have, especially when you only have 3 batteries and you're going from one location to another. You have depleted some of your batteries, but not to the point that they are completely empty. You can still use that juice, that safe amount of juice, and transfer it to the batteries that need that juice the most. So that's pretty cool. So my final long-term impressions of the Air 3, I can confidently say that this is one of the most important drones that DJI has ever put out, because of the huge amount of different features, intelligent flight modes, and everything else that's just been crammed into this drone, making it a perfect all-rounder, at least in my eyes, for pretty much anyone out there. 99% of the people who buy the Air 3 will never need anything more than that, because it just combines everything into one fantastic piece of kit. I feel like this drone can be used for so many different things, for a variety of different scenarios, and with the huge amount of battery life, with the great cameras, 2 cameras, with the great intelligent flight modes, the D-Log M, the HLG color profile, the active track, the omnidirectional obstacle avoidance, with all the things that this drone has to offer, coming up at a very reasonable price, it's just a no-brainer. And for now, in 2023, I don't feel you can buy a better drone. Yes, you can buy the Mavic 3 Pro, which is a lot more expensive. It will have a couple more bells and whistles, but for the price you're paying, the Air 3 just beats everything else. That's my long-term impressions. I'm super happy with this drone. I feel like it's one of the best all-around products from straight from day one that DJI has put out, without ever needing that much support, without ever needing to fix any glitches or bugs or problems that have been, you know, going on since the release. Everything is smooth, everything is nice, everything works, and it works great. So that's pretty much everything I have for you guys in today's video. I really hope you found it useful and informative. And for everyone who will call me a DJI fanboy, I'm just a guy who loves flying drones and who appreciates the great technology that we have at our fingertips. So call me what you want. I'm just happy to have this drone and being able to really enjoy it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video as well. Let me know down in the comment section below if you did. And also don't forget to help me out by clicking on the like button. Subscribe for more videos like this one. This is Mike from Drone Supremacy. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one very, very soon. Ciao.
I'm on the sound, hoodie season, back around, no more summer bounce, little squeeze out, squeeze. Keep that indoors when we're throwing down, oversized jumping with our underwear out. I'm on the sound, hoodie season, back around, no more summer bounce, little squeeze out, squeeze. Keep that indoors when we're throwing down, oversized jumping with our underwear out.